Don't, under any circumstances, miss the next Ant-Man movie. It'll tell you everything you need to know about the next Avengers movie, and Loki might have something to do with him as well. But why is Ant-Man important to the Avengers? Didn't it used to be the other way around? Before we can even talk about Avengers the Kang Dynasty, we have to talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. Apparently, this is the movie where they will introduce the infamous villain, Kang the Conqueror. According to the producer of the movie, the third Ant-Man film will be central to MCU's future phases. Why is that? Well, so far, producer Stephen Broussard pointed out that the two previous Ant-Man movies felt like a palate cleanser. They both took place after the chaos that followed the Avengers and their alien invasion. But this time, it's gonna be different.
Well, the 60s were fun, but now I'm paying for it.
They want to make the events in this Ant-Man central to most of the show in the future. Broussard said, coming after the Avengers movies, phrases like palate cleanser had been thrown around about the Ant-Man movies. We felt, if we're getting a chance at Part 3, we want the film to be big and feel central to the future of the MCU. In other words, this movie is gonna serve as the Phase 5 opener. The events in Avengers the Kang Dynasty will happen as a result of what will happen in this movie, so we strongly recommend everyone watch it if they want to keep up to date with everything that will unfold in Phase 5 and Phase 6 of the MCU. Jonathan Majors got to briefly introduce Kang the Conqueror in the first season of Loki. This new Ant-Man movie is supposed to give him a more in-depth introduction, and then the second season of Loki will fully develop his character before introducing him as the main villain pinned against all of the Avengers in Avengers the Kang Dynasty. So does this mean we'll have to wait for Ant-Man and the Wasp before we know who Kang is? Not really. He's a pretty important villain from the comics. We even learned a lot about his supernatural being from the last episode of Loki Season 1. The MCU took on the same background story that comic books have been telling for decades now. Kang was born in the 31st century, however, the timeline he was born in didn't go through the Dark Ages, so the 31st century he lived in was infinitely more advanced than the 31st century on Earth. Now, with all of this extra knowledge as well as his intellect, Kang managed to travel in time and connect the different universes. In his time travels, he found many other versions of himself. Most of them were good, but there were some evil ones out there, and the only thing they wanted was total conquest of time and space. Instead of having eternal peace like the original Kang intended, time travel allowed the different universes to wage wars against each other. It's like World War II, but instead of Hitler, you have an infinite number of Hitlers. And instead of Europe, you have an infinite number of universes where all types of species fight to ultimately succeed in his plan for multiversal domination.
I said earlier when I said I know how everything is going to go. 7, 8, 9, 10 seconds ago.
The initial peace was broken and the universe was left in pieces. Fragmented, the different Kangs took control of different worlds. We saw this in Loki, where Kang was deemed the ruler of the Earth Loki was sent to. So apparently, the one who persists will persist into the universe where the Avengers are. Oh, and let's not forget that Kang harnessed the power of Alioth, the creature capable of consuming time and space altogether. Well, to be honest, the version in Loki was not Kang the Conqueror, it was He Who Remains, the eternal being that resides in the Citadel at the end of time. He is the quote-unquote original Kang, if we can call him that. After realizing how powerful Alioth was, He Who Remains began experimenting and could finally control the beast. He used the monster's powers to end the multiversal war and end Kang the Conqueror, but for how long? That's the main question, and it seems that the MCU is going to tell us just how long that is in 2025 when they release Avengers the Kang Dynasty. For the sake of comparison, Thanos was a mindless pawn when we compare him to the genius mastermind that lived through the eons and harnessed the knowledge of all his versions, adapted himself, and became stronger in the end. When it comes to weapons, Thanos had the Infinity Stones, that spinning blade of spaceship, and an army. All of that would pale in comparison to Alioth alone, not to mention the hyper-advanced weapons suit that Kang wears as body armor and used to conquer a plethora of universes. So Kang wiped out half the universe, and the Avengers then brought everyone back, killed him, and basically reduced him to nothingness. Kang, on the other hand, destroyed multiple universes in search of multiversal domination and has brought many more to heel. Also, the Infinity Stones are paperweights for Kang. You mean the most powerful stones of creation that could destroy an entire universe? Yeah, precisely. The security guard of the TVA even said so himself. And we can never forget that He Who Remains knew everything about all the universes and everything that would happen until the Threshold. That means Thanos, the Infinity Stones, the going back in time, the Avengers, and everything that happened in the Marvel Universe, all of that has been part of Kang's plan. The Avengers cannot hope of killing Kang, they can only hope to trick him and send him through the timeline and hope he doesn't come back.
There's two options. One, kill me and destroy all this, and you don't just have one devil, you have an infinite amount.
Avengers: The Kang Dynasty will be released sometime in 2025. The movie will be part of MCU's Phase 5 of movies, and it's still too early to tell what the movie is going to be about. That's probably because Marvel's writers are focusing on all of the other movies that they'll be making before they even think about the 5th Avengers movie. However, we do know that the director will be Destin Daniel Cretton, and the script will be written by Jeff Loveness. At least, that's what the IMDb site tells us. Speaking of people involved in the movie, we know at least some of the people who will definitely be part of the cast. For example, Jonathan Majors is definitely going to be playing Kang the Conqueror, and with the upcoming Captain America movie, we know that Anthony Mackie will be taking on the helm as the leader of the Avengers since Steve Rogers stepped down. So now Sam Wilson, who we formerly knew as Falcon, will be leading the Avengers against Kang. Also, it's rumored that Paul Rudd will be playing Ant-Man in the movie, Jeremy Renner will be reprising his role as Hawkeye, Haley Steinfeld will be portraying Kate Bishop, and Catherine Newton will be playing Cassie Lang. However, we do have to stress that it's too early to tell if this is true, since it's 2 years too early to tell. Oh, and there are some other juicy details we could share with you about the Avengers. The fans have been bummed out that there's not going to be a single Avengers movie in Phase 4 or Phase 5 of the MCU. So Kevin Feige decided to give the fans what they wanted. Not only will we get one movie at the start of 2025, but we'll also be getting another Avengers movie later that same year. You heard that right. There are going to be 2 Avengers movies in a single year. After Avengers: The Kang Dynasty, we'll get to see Avengers: Secret Wars. If the rumors are to be believed, these 2 movies will follow the example of Avengers: Endgame. In other words, they'll be the culmination of all the movies and everything that's going to be happening in Marvel's Phase 4 and Phase 5. So what does this mean? Well, aside from Marvel possibly making another movie that will gross $2 billion at the box office, we'll probably have to watch all the other MCU movies if we want to stay on top of everything that will be taking place in Avengers: The Kang Dynasty and also Avengers: Secret Wars. Smash that like button just like you should do if you haven't done so already. But no, in all seriousness, smash that subscribe button just like you should do if you have already. But no, seriously now, see you in the next video.